What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. We'll get started here shortly. Coach is maybe a couple minutes behind. He'll be with us here in a minute, but I just want everybody to get a chance to jump in here, get settled in, and then go over some things together, talk about this recruiting process. So we'll get going here in about a minute. All right, y'all, let's jump into this. First and foremost, thanks for being here, taking out some time to learn about the recruiting process and just kind of familiarize yourself with what's out there and how to go about this. Coach and I have had a lot of really productive talks. He really wants everybody on the team to succeed, and he sees potential in everybody to potentially get to the collegiate level if that's something you want to do. So, when he and I connected a couple months ago, we started having discussions about this summer and what that looks like from a recruiting perspective and some of the things that he wants to help you guys accomplish. So, Coach has done a tremendous job setting you guys up with resources. He cares a lot about your success, really wants to help guide you through this process. But, at the same time, you got to be able to figure this out on your own. And that's a big part of what we're talking about here today. It's just, what is this process? How do we get a handle on it? How do we be proactive? How do we identify the programs that are going to be a good fit for us from a lot of different perspectives, not just a baseball perspective? And then how do we start to communicate our interest to college coaches to say, hey, I'm a good player. I'm a good student. Doing this for a long time, and I care about you knowing that I want to play for you. So necessarily in this process, we're talking about taking proactive steps forward. That's going to mean something different to just about everybody. So, you look across at your teammates, they may want something different out of their collegiate experience than you do. That's okay, but you need to figure out based on your goals and what you want to get accomplished, how you need to go about the recruiting process. So when Coach Keith and I connected, we talked a lot about that. And to his credit, he went to work on your behalf to set you up with some resources to get exposure to college coaches nationwide. He wanted this to be a big part of your programming, the recruiting side of things, so that you guys can get to college, that you can continue to play ball, that you can earn a scholarship, get your school paid for, so that you're walking away with a zero-sum balance. So Coach does have some resources to help you. He has actually provided everybody on the team with a membership with NCSA, Next College Student Athlete. We're going to go through some of the benefits of that membership that Coach is providing you. And then we're going to talk about what you need to actually start doing with those membership features to really impact the process. So my name is Danny Koenig. I am a director of recruiting with Next College Student Athlete. I've been with NCSA about 3 years now, just trying to provide families with knowledge on this process so that you guys can take full advantage and connect with the right college coaches. My background, I was a competitive swimmer. I grew up in Wisconsin. I was pretty good at what I did when I was younger. I got a lot of looks from Division I programs when I was going through the recruiting process, and I ultimately chose to compete for 4 years on scholarship at the University of Wisconsin. So I was a 4-year scholarship athlete. I saw a lot of success with that. I was swimming at a time, and I was competing against Michael Phelps when he won 8 golds at the Beijing Olympics in 2008. I made it my mission to compete against the best in the world, but eventually I knew that there wasn't professional swimming, so I had to figure something else out, and I got into coaching. So I coached college swimming for just shy of a decade. I was a recruiting coordinator at a couple of different Division I programs. Got really familiar with that process as a college coach, but that doesn't mean that everybody else out there has that knowledge base. So now, I take what I learned as a coach, as a high-level recruiter at the Division I level, and I'm basically taking that knowledge and passing it on to student athletes and their families so that you can kind of manipulate the recruiting process in your favor. So between myself, between your coach, we want to see you guys engage in this process and do that in a smart way and find success. And like I said, coach not only has resources to help you guys guide you through this process, he's actually taken the step further and invested money in a membership with NCSA for additional recruiting help. Right, so coach is really kind of standing up for you, but his expectation is that you are going to be doing your own recruitment. He's just kind of there as a fallback to get a second set of eyes on what you're doing, making sure that you're on pace, and coach is going to be working closely with me. So NCSA, Next College Student Athlete. It's like a big online recruiting database for college coaches across the country at every level, where they're going to be able to run searches and identify and evaluate prospects that are a good fit for their program. So first and foremost, what coaches set you up with is a free online recruiting profile with NCSA. So what some of you may have been seeing is that coach is inviting you to access that recruiting profile, get your information out there for every coach in the country, but also to invite you to his Team Edition account. So NCSA offers a portal for coaches to be able to start those free recruiting profiles, but also monitor your recruiting activity through NCSA's network. So, for instance, coach can see if you are building your recruiting profile. Coach can see when you're logging in. Coach can see if you're adding video. Coach can see if you are building a target list of schools and which schools are on that list. Coach can see which college programs are interacting with your recruiting profile, how they're interacting with it, if you're getting emails from those programs. So coach really is set up at a very high level to kind of monitor what you guys are doing, but you got to take that next step and say, yes, coach, I want to share my recruiting journey with you. I have seen that email come through from NCSA. I do want to start that recruiting profile so that college coaches can view my information. But beyond that, coaches set you up with these resources to basically start to figure out what's out there and available to you so that you can engage with those coaches and let them know that you're interested. So NCSA is a big, powerful network. We really kind of keep the student athlete in mind in the process that you're going to go through. Just understand that your goals for competing at the next level, they're going to be a little bit different from your teammate, but we got to, really kind of cater to those goals and make sure that you're taking steps that make sense for you throughout this process. So I do want to open it up towards the end for some questions, but we're going to take about 20, maybe 25 minutes here at most, talk a little bit about the recruiting process. I'm going to actually pull up a sample profile. I'm going to show you how college coaches are finding you. I'm going to show you what a profile looks like. I'm going to show you the back end of that profile and some of the things that you can be and should be doing with that. And then we're going to talk about some next steps to get you going. So once we kind of get through that here in about 20 minutes, I'm going to open it up for some Q&A. You guys can just drop those questions in the chat box. Nothing's really off limits when it comes to this process. If you are uncomfortable just reaching out in front of the group and asking those questions, I'll make sure that coach can get you my contact information and you guys can reach out to me, set up something one-on-one. We can talk about your goals and some of the things that you need to be doing. So feel free to ask questions towards the end of the presentation here. Okay, let's talk about the recruiting process here a little bit. The day the recruiting process is going to start for any one individual athlete is the day that they decide that they want to pursue college athletics. Kind of in conjunction with that, we follow the NCAA. We're NCAA compliant. The NCAA considers you a recruitably aged student athlete at 13 years old. We have college coaches that come to us into our network asking us for prospects in 7th and 8th grade. It's just that competitive. So realistically for college coaches and by the NCAA rules, the recruiting process is going to start when you're 13 years old. But for you, your process isn't going to start as a student athlete until you verbalize that day you say, I want to play college ball. That's the day you got to get started with something. So fortunately, Coach Keith, he's already set you up with some resources to get your information out in front of college coaches. When you want to start doing that, to build that online profile with information for coaches. And then we got to start taking some steps forward. right? Because we know this is something that you want to do. We know coaches are starting to identify and evaluate 13 and 14-year-olds. This is a process. If you wait too long, some doors are going to close on you, especially at the Division I, the scholarship levels. Those coaches are pretty aggressive. So if you have stood up and said, yes, I want to pursue college ball, you got to get started with something, and coaches already set you up with those resources. So in this process, college coaches are using NCSA to identify and evaluate prospects initially. So whatever their program is graduating, if they're graduating their middle infielders, they need to replenish that. They're going to recruit for that cycle. If that coach is at a very high academic institution, they need to run searches through NCSA for athletes that have good grades and good test scores just to get into school there so they can work with them. So as early as 13, 14 years old, coaches are coming to our network. They're running searches saying, hey, this is what we're graduating, or this is what our school is about. So when you build that profile, even though college coaches may not be able to contact you directly by NCAA rules, by that I mean there are restrictive communication rules at the scholarship level that coaches can't do early recruiting. Just because they can't contact you at the scholarship level doesn't mean they're not paying attention to your class. As an example, so I was a Division I swim coach at Iona College, which is out in New York. I was probably identifying and evaluating prospects about a year to 18 months in advance of when I was going to be able to contact those athletes. So in that time, I'm looking at video. I'm trying to figure out what their ability is. I'm looking at grades. I'm looking at transcripts. I'm making sure that that athlete is taking approved NCAA courses academically. I'm reaching out to the coach saying, Coach, does this kid have potential? Do they listen? Are they coachable type of kids? Are they leaders? Do they have leadership qualities? So by that time, when I, as a scholarship coach, am able to reach out to you, which is going to be after your sophomore year, I have a very good sense for who you are. I've already communicated my interest to your high school and your travel coach. I've looked at your grades. I've looked at your video. That's not coming out of the blue that day that coaches can reach out. So for you, knowing that coaches can't reach out to you, get a profile together, make sure you're in the system, make sure that these coaches can identify and evaluate you. The big secret to all this with the communication is that you can always contact a college coach. Let's say that again. That is a one-way street that is always open. In the recruiting process, you are always able to contact a college coach. If you send them an email, they may not be able to get back to you. That's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not interested. They are just prohibited by the NCAA from expressing that interest to you just yet. However, they are expecting and looking for student athletes to identify their program as a potential fit for them, to raise their hand and say, Coach, I'm a good student, I'm well coached, I'm a good player, and I'm someone that you should be paying attention to. I'm interested in your program for these reasons. Let's talk when the time is right. And that is your most direct route to making sure that you are recruited by college coaches at your top schools of interest. Anything outside of that, you absolutely can consider, but understand that the college coaches that may find you and be interested may also not be a good fit for you. You're the only one that can decide that. So when we talk about this process, yes, it starts early. No, it cannot be passive. You have to stand up yourself. You have to start having a sense for what you want to accomplish, baseball included, but also academically, where you want to attend school in the country, geographically, right? Division level, what might be possible for you. Or if you're not there yet, you want to play D1 ball, you need to be having a conversation with coach about what you would potentially need to do to get there. Once you have a good sense for what you want, you have the responsibility to raise your hand and say, Coach, I'm interested. Because college coaches cannot recruit someone they don't know exists. We're going to talk about that, right? So realistically, if you want to be ahead of the game, you do need to start this process in your freshman year. If you're a sophomore and you haven't gotten started, that's okay. We just got to get going with something. So sophomore year is when most athletes are starting to put their information in front of college coaches at their top schools of interest. That way, summer after your sophomore year, you're going to camps. Coaches know who you are. They're seeing you. They're talking to you at those camps. Junior year, you're on the phone. You're exchanging emails. You're building a relationship with the coaches at your top schools of interest. Then you're going to campus, right? And they're only going to offer you a visit to campus, unofficial or official, if they've built that relationship with you, if they've done their homework to make sure there's someone you want to pursue, and they've had that conversation with you to know that you are interested as well. So your responsibility, the day that you decide that you want to play college ball, you need to start building that recruiting profile for exposure. You need to start considering the factors that you think is important for you to go to college. I'm going to teach you how to find those schools. I'm going to show you how you can start reaching out to those coaches. And I promise you that if you start to take those steps proactively, you're going to get a very favorable response for college coaches, because that's what I prefer as a college coach. I wanted to focus my attention on the athletes that really wanted to be a part of my program. If I get athletes come in my direction and I don't have to work that hard to get that athlete interested, that's easy. Put a star by that athlete's name. You're going to start to figure out some pieces, all right? Okay, so recruiting. You got to be proactive. You got to have something going online. I just came away from a Triple Crown event. Coaches, they're not just flying around the country to scout anymore. If they're going to see athletes in person and you see college coaches at a game, they've already got a list of kids that they're talking to, or at least a list of kids in which they're interested. So then your job is to make sure that coach knows about you. That's it. And like I said, your coach, Coach Keith, has set you up with resources not only for exposure, but to really be able to drive this process forward on your own terms, because that's what this whole thing is about. We're not leaving it up to chance. Let me share my profile here, or excuse me, share my screen. Aiden has done a phenomenal job with his recruiting profile. Without exaggeration, it's one of the best profiles I've ever seen. Right? Anybody can do this. Coach Keith has already started everybody here with that free recruiting profile. So when you're getting emails from NCSA Team Edition, Coach is inviting you to access this free online recruiting profile. I'll show you what that means in here in a second. But Aiden, right here at the top, I know everything I need to know about Aiden. I've got his height, I've got his weight, I've got his statistics, and I've got his video. This number up here, 3.1 in the classroom, I love that. It's probably the thing I'm focused on most as a college coach, right? But beyond that, you know, video, statistics, these sorts of things, Aiden's uploaded a transcript for college coaches. A couple ways I'd use that. First and foremost, I'm making sure that the courses you're taking are approved by the NCAA. So in order to be academically eligible in high school, you need to be taking courses that the NCAA approves. That's a conversation you need to have with your guidance office, right? Second thing I'm using transcripts for. I can take these unofficial transcripts along with test scores, ACT, SAT, if you've got them, and I can communicate that to the admissions liaison. That's financial aid department. I'm saying, hey, I'm interested in this athlete. Are they eligible for what we call merit money? Is the school willing to give this student athlete money, tuition credit for having good grades and good test scores? If I'm a Division I coach and I'm not fully funded, meaning I don't have the full allotted scholarships that the NCAA allows, I'm relying on the school's merit money to get athletes to my school, because I can't compete with the big boy D1s that are fully funded. So I'm going to say, hey, look, you might be looking at X number of dollars over here at this Division I program. However, my program can offer you much more money just from merit scholarship for having good grades, and I can add some baseball scholarship to that, making your cost less. So transcripts, having this on here for coaches is absolutely brilliant. Doing well in the classroom is your number one route to getting some scholarship. Right? Baseball scholarships are really hard to come by. APs, I know what Aiden wants to study. Business. If I have a really good business program, I'm talking a lot about that. I'm making sure he connects with a professor on campus. Conversely, if I'm at a program or a school that doesn't have a great business program or no business program at all, I'm probably not recruiting Aiden. I can't. I don't have anything else to offer him outside of baseball. And this is about the whole picture. It's about the entire collegiate experience. Aiden, been playing for a long time, right? Playing travel ball at a high level. I got some statistics here on Aiden. I know that he's playing at high-level events around the country. I got coach references. Here's your coach right here in particular. And I got his contact information. Like what I know about Aiden, I'm absolutely reaching out to Aiden for a lot of different reasons, right? So if you want to go play in college, your coach has already started you this. Now you have to meet him halfway. You have to log in there. You have to accept that invitation. And you have to build this just like Aiden did. You did a great job. Why start a recruiting profile? You know, you're going to camps, you're going to showcases, tournaments, whatever. There are coaches there. But I told you, and I just had a conversation with a lot of Division I programs at this Triple Crown event. They're only showing up to these events with a list of kids in mind. They know where they're playing. They know what jersey number they are. They know what position they play. They're evaluating them there. Right? They're not coming to big Triple Crown events just to scout and see who's out there. It's a logistical nightmare, right? But the way that college coaches are identifying and evaluating athletes through NCSA's network as early as 13 or 14 is right here. This is what I used every day as a Division I recruiting coordinator. Primarily this search function. I know what I'm graduating. I know what my school is about. I know what I need to recruit. And I can find it in this network. Most people don't get to see the college coach side of things. So this is kind of cool for you guys. But when you build this profile, you get good information on there. This is how college coaches are going to find you. First and foremost, you'll see here at the top, there are 95,000 recruitably aged high school baseball players in this network. It's not all sports. It's just baseball. Right? We work with 37 sports. Those coaches would have to have a sports-specific login in order to access this. So as a baseball coach, I can log in and I got 95,000 kids that I can sift through. And I know there's a handful of kids in here that are going to help me build a championship roster. I'm not recruiting 95,000 kids. That's insane. But I can come over here and I can say, look, I'm graduating these kids. I need to replenish them for that class. Let's pick some positions. Maybe I do well out of certain states. So when I was at Iona College in New York, I'm pulling kids out of New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, right? They got to be able to drive, maybe Connecticut, right? They got to be able to drive to my school. I know that's where I'm going to do well. I'm not pulling kids from California, Texas, right? So I'm going to choose by state. Grad year, right? Coaches are actively pursuing 2023s. They're starting to build prospect lists with the 2024s. They can trim that down. GPA, show me the kids that are well balanced in the classroom. I coached at a very high academic Division III school. There was no leniency for grades. If I wanted to be able to coach you and turn you into an All-American, you got to get into school first. So I'm coming up here saying, hey, I need the kids with a 3.8 and a 32 on the ACT just to get into school. And I can evaluate their athletic ability, right? Video. Coaches need a skills video. You might be the biggest, strongest, fastest kid out there, but if you can't get it done on the field, skills-wise, they don't care. And they can filter through athletes that do not have video on their profile. It's that important, right? So as a coach, I'm just trying to whittle this down to a manageable number and figure out some of these kids that I can identify and evaluate that are going to be a good fit for me. Now, if you take the time, build out a recruiting profile like Aiden, you're going to start getting hits from college coaches that are searching for athletes like you. Again, you're of value to those coaches, and with this membership that coaches provided with everybody on the team, you're going to be able to see which coaches are interacting with your profile, how they're interacting with your profile, and when they interacted with your profile. But if you don't have the information that they're searching for, such as grade point average, you're not showing up in searches for those coaches, and they don't know you exist at that point. Take a page out of Aiden's book. He's done an incredible job. Coach has set you up and invited you to this free recruiting profile. If you want to play college ball, accept that invite. It's the easiest thing you can do to get yourself going. Let's talk about the back end. Right? We talked a lot about college coaches finding you. We know that's very passive. It is not a guarantee that any coach that finds you in our system is going to be a good fit for you. So how do we start to manipulate this in your favor? Let's come to the dashboard. When Aiden logs in, this is what he sees. This is how he manages his own recruitment proactively to say, hey, this is what's important to me. I need to start communicating that interest to college coaches. Dashboard's kind of like a landing page, very much like social media feed. You can follow schools, you can follow other athletes, you can see how complete your profile is, right? You can track some of your favorites. So kind of the orange circle is your recruiting progress as you check that off in our system, your communications with those coaches. You probably won't do too much with the dashboard so much, but first thing you do after you start to build a recruiting profile, get into the network here, get visibility to college coaches, you got to start building a target list of schools. So your target list is probably like, 30 to 40 schools that you are going to actively pursue, right? So of probably 1,600 collegiate baseball programs, you're trying to narrow this down to about 30 to 40. Just like coach, logging in here isn't going to recruit 95,000 kids. You guys aren't going to recruit 1,600 programs. But you need to start figuring out, based on your preferences, what schools these are. And they may not be schools you've ever heard of. That's okay. But we're basically inputting your preferences for playing ball in college, for attending class, where you want to be in the country. And this Find Colleges tab is going to be where you're going to do that. So again, keep in mind, we are going to push our information in front of college coaches at the right schools, but we need to figure out what those schools are first. Just give it a second to load here, but what you're going to see is basically a bunch of different categories that you can select of what's important to you in a college. So this search, this Find Colleges, it's all going to be done through the lens of baseball. All these schools are going to have and offer baseball, but we're trying to put some other things in here as well. Maybe you want to click off some states here geographically. Colorado and West, right? Let's stay relatively close to home. Maybe mom and dad want to see you play, or maybe you got family in the Northeast, right? You want to target schools in the Northeast. Again, geographically as a preference, whatever's important to you, you can just click some of these off. I want to be at schools in these states, right? Division level. This is a conversation with coach. Coach, I need to know what might be possible for me. How do I project towards college? Hey, I really want to play at a Division I level. Is that possible? If not, what do I need to do to get there? Change some of my training habits, whatever, right? So coach, he's going to be very honest with you. He's going to say, look, I think you're a great Division II candidate, or I think you got a shot to play at the Division I level, or hey, you're really smart. Why don't we be a little bit more academically focused, target like a high academic Division III? Right. Again, this is a conversation for you to have with coach. It's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but you want to start to find some schools that lie within those divisions. Academic selectivity of those schools at those division levels. So again, if you're a high academic Division III, let's find those selective schools that offer baseball. Tuition level, size of the school, HBCUs, right? Suburban schools, all up to you to decide where you want to be. You can play around with some of those parameters, but the real one where you're going to spend a lot of your time trying to figure out which schools have something to offer you, major. If you're open, you don't know what you want to study, no worries. Leave that one open. Right? We're going to try to find some schools that offer a lot of different things. If you have something really specific, don't be surprised if your search results are very narrow, right? You maybe get 10 schools versus 50 to 60. That's okay too, right? We're just trying to find those schools that can offer you something that's important to you. So maybe it's business or whatever. So, in 30 seconds, 6 clicks of a button, you're going to start to generate some schools that do make sense for you. I didn't click anything off. This is going to include every single baseball program out there, but it's going to be a list that generally fits your criteria. This is how we start to build a target list of schools in which we're going to proactively let those coaches know of our interest. So then your responsibility, once you've generated the list, it's not necessarily that all these schools are going to be a great fit for you, but you can come in here and actually research these schools. So maybe you don't know much about TCU in general, heard of it, right? Decent football, but you need to figure out if this is going to be a good fit for you. So you can click on TCU here. It's going to bring you to the schools page. First, you can take a look at some NCAA athletes that are currently playing on that school. You can look at their video. You can look at their grades, kind of see how you stack up. Basic info for this school, right? It just tells you a little bit more about it. Admissions requirements, right? ACT, SAT, what is, it costs tuition-wise. You can apply to the school here. Admissions is a really good one to just learn a little bit more about it. Match analysis. This is a membership feature that your coach has provided for you. Say, hey, this is a 53% match. Not great. TCU pretty good at baseball, pretty solid academically. He's not interested in schools of this academic selectivity. It's not a great fit. But, I've seen athletes commit to schools that are 53%, 55% match. But this is just a really good tool based on your preferences and the preferences of those coaches. Say, hey, is this a good fit? NCSA keep track of that. So match analysis is one of those membership features you can use to kind of determine, hey, is this going to be something that I really want to pursue? If you decide that TCU is for you, we're throwing that on the target list. One of our 30 to 40 schools that we're going to raise our hand and say, Coach, I'm interested. Going to add it as a favorite. All right, we'll come back to that here in a minute, but once you add it to your favorites, it's going to show up under My Colleges. Come back to My Colleges. But My Colleges is your target list. It's going to give you action steps to start taking in there. That's really where we're going to focus most of your attention. So TCU goes on our target list. We've added it as a favorite. There are two more things we need to do before we can move on. First, we're going to fill out a questionnaire for that collegiate program. Coach is going to ask you anyway. Get it out of the way. Right? This is basically you saying, this is my recruiting information. I want it to be in your database so that as you communicate with me, you can track that too. Basic info. Typically, it has a if you go to My Progress with this school, complete the questionnaire. Go complete their questionnaire. It's going to take you straight to TCU's link. I fill out a baseball questionnaire for TCU. Once you've filled that out, yes, I completed that. This box gets checked. Our little circler on our favorites continues to be filled in. So complete the questionnaire. You got to do it. Coach is going to ask you to do it anyway. You want to be proactive. You want to get out ahead of that. Now, once you have submitted a questionnaire for a college coach, they get hundreds of those a week. You want to stand out. And the way that you're going to stand out is that you're going to send that coach a quick follow-up email. Keep in mind, your NCSA recruiting profile tells that coach everything they need to know about you. This is your life story. Your email to that coach is basically like, hey, just filled out a questionnaire, very interested in what you guys are doing. I like the school for these reasons. When can we talk? You should always be asking the coach of something. So you've added it as a favorite. You filled out the questionnaire. You checked that box. Next big membership feature that coach has provided this team with is the ability to email coaches directly through this system. You're going to hit the little mail. This is going to pull up TCU's, all their email addresses. It's going to take you to the message center in here. This needs to be a utilized feature. And the reason why you want to send your emails through this system, it's going to track everything you send back to TCU's page with NCSA. So as you're juggling 30 to 40 schools and you're like, well, what was the last conversation I had with TCU? It was a couple months ago. You can go back and be like, oh yeah, I sent them my email with an updated skills video and my tournaments for this summer. Sweet. I got to check back in with coach. So that'd be the first big one. The second big one, reason why you would want to send emails through the system and utilize this membership feature, you can actually see if those coaches are opening your email. So maybe you've sent coach 2-3 emails, they're not opening it. Maybe it's like, hey, maybe I don't have the right address or they're out scouting for the summer, whatever. Haven't had a chance to get back to it. Maybe you're shooting for like Vanderbilt. You want to play ball at Vanderbilt. Everybody does. And you've sent Vanderbilt a bunch of emails through the system. You see Vanderbilt is opening your emails, but they're not getting back to you. Might be time to put Vanderbilt on the back burner, right? So obviously you want to kind of track your communications with college coaches and be able to speak to that directly. But, if you're an underclassman and these coaches can't get back to you, you can know if that coach got the message, right? So Coach Keith has set you up with this membership feature to be able to email college coaches directly through this system. And so here's the director of baseball operations. You put your name, you put your grad year, and a brief message. Filled out the questionnaire, very interested in the program. When can we talk? That's it. All right, and you're going to do that for about 30 to 40 schools. So My Colleges is where you're going to manage your target list of schools. We're going to come to My Colleges. You're going to see this list. So as you favorited schools in our system, they're going to come to My Colleges. You're going to be able to figure out, exactly what's going on there. Let's go to favorites first. So favorites under My Colleges is your target list. I think Aiden's got a couple on here. Here we go. So Aiden, he's favored of these schools that go under My Colleges. It's telling Aiden what to do next in the recruiting process with each school. It's telling Aiden, hey, the schools in your target list are a pretty good match. You've done what you needed to be doing. There's even a way to, again, email these coaches if that's something you need to do. So you can sort this by next action or how you've ranked them as your favorites. So if you really want to kind of focus on your top 10, leave the other 20, 30, whatever, whatever, you can do that too. But favorites is really where you're going to spend a lot of your time with the target list. Just kind of managing that and making sure you're being proactive, staying on top of it, and effectively communicating your interest to college coaches. Other really cool membership features that coaches provide you. Top matches. The requirement for top matches is that you update your preferences in this system. So edit profile, you click on that, and then as a sub tab like you'd see here, there's one for preferences where you're basically saying, hey, these are the states I want to be in. This is what I would consider. I'm looking for academically selective schools. Kind of everything we did through that college search function, you're just going to allow that to be in one place. So top matches is your preferences and what you want to accomplish through this, but college coaches have also told us the same thing. Said, hey, I need middle infielders for the 2024 class, kids with at least 3.0. Send me those kids. So between your preferences and the preferences of college coaches, we meet somewhere in the middle and we get match percentage, top matches. It's based on data and science historically. You can and probably should consider these things. So they may or may not be a part of your target list, your favorites list. It's up for you to decide if these top matches fit what you're looking for. Right, so again, you can research these schools, click on Adams State, do some research, add it to your favorites list, right? So just again, another way for NCSA to help you figure out what's available to you based on what you want to accomplish. Another really fun membership feature, Coach Activity Report. Coach Keith said, this is important for my guys to have. I'm going to pay for this feature for them. So once you access this recruiting profile, attach yourself to the team account, you're going to have access to the Coach Activity Report, which is a membership feature. Okay. For starters, up here on the right, Aiden, his profile has been viewed by 45 different programs. Want to know more about Aiden? He has shown up in 254 independent searches for college coaches looking for athletes like him. 21 programs are following his profile. So if Aiden puts up a new highlight tape, updates his transcripts, those coaches get an email about it immediately. They want to know about it right away. They are following his profile. Opens his emails. So as Aiden is sending out emails to coaches at his top schools of interest, he can see if those coaches are opening those emails. And he's getting some coaches to pay attention, which is cool. So you see here the star, again, Aiden's favorites are really interacting with him. Like this school, they continually are searching for athletes that fit what he fits for, right? He is what they want. That's a favorite for him too. So that's a really good sign. Same with Valley City State, right? But here's you get this school in Wisconsin. He's shown up in a search for this coach. I don't know if this school is a good fit for Aiden or not, but those coaches to a degree are interested. They're looking for kids like him. Same with Minnesota Norris, right? He's shown up in 6 independent searches for those coaches that continually are looking for athletes like him. Aiden's the only one, and Aiden and his family are the only ones that can decide, like, if any of these schools are of interest to him. And he can certainly consider those things. But you can know in real time if coaches are interested in you. Who is that coach? When did they search for athletes like you? How were they searching? Did they look at your profile? And so if you showed up in that search, did they actually find you? Are they following your profile? So again, you don't need to be interested in these programs. We know those programs to a degree are interested in you. Maybe that's something that you want to approach through the recruiting process, try and get some buzz going, something like that. But realistically, where you're going to spend your time is in favorites. That's your target list. Those are the schools that you've found and researched and said, hey, this is going to complete my collegiate experience. Then you have that responsibility to fill out the questionnaire for that coach, and then through this system, send that coach an email to solidify your interest. Right? Take that a step further. I would say for most people, you're going to be starting this late in your freshman year, summer before your sophomore year, into your sophomore year. Summer after your sophomore year, you're going to want to have this list together. You want to have done your research. You're going to want to have actually communicated your interest to college coaches. If you're a junior who hasn't started this process yet, you're behind. I'm not even suggesting that everything is lost. These coaches are going to continue to recruit into your senior year. Just understand that there are athletes that have been, doing this for quite some time. Some doors may have closed, right? So if you're a junior, you're just getting going here, fill out the profile. You have a set amount of recruiting work that needs to happen in a recruiting cycle. You have this amount of time to do it in versus when you started this in 8th grade. So this system and what coaches provided for you is going to accelerate that. It's going to give you some insight into, are these coaches opening my emails? Are they looking at my profile? Are they following what I'm doing? Am I of value to the coaches at my top schools of interest? And then in addition, if you're kind of in a pinch, and you're not hearing back from every single coach that you're reaching out to, just a little bit behind in the recruiting process, coach activity report. Like say, okay, well, these schools are interested in me. Maybe I need to expand out my target list a little bit and get in touch with some of these schools. And really, it doesn't need to be more complex than that. Figure out what you want in this process. The day you've decided that you want to pursue college ball, you got to start doing something. Build a recruiting profile that coach has already set you up with. He has emailed you access to that. He wants to help provide guidance to you. Then you have to say, look, this is what I want in the recruiting process, what schools are available to me. And then if we're not taking the next step to let that coach know, there is no guarantee that they're going to find you and that they're going to express their interest as well. So once we have this target list, we're going to add it to our favorites. We're going to manage our colleges, and we're going to start to let that coach know by filling out a questionnaire, using NCSA system and this membership feature to let those coaches solidify your interest. You're going to email them real quick. Right, try and figure it out if they're interested. And then anything outside of that, your top matches, your coach activity, icing on the cake. Right, but we got to focus on those things first. See here, I want to open it up for questions again. You guys can kind of drop this in the chat box. Coach, I'm going to make you a panelist so you can kind of weigh in here. All right, Coach, you should be a host, and you should be able to talk. So just, jump in here with anything that you think might be important for your athletes to know. What you think about.
All right, can you hear me?
I got you. What's going on?
Sorry about that. That was good stuff.
Coach, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat box.
Perfect. Yeah, so basically, I think you covered most of everything that's going to be beneficial for us. I did notice one thing that we didn't really mention is the video side of things and throwing up some real-time information in terms of like our diamond kinetics and in the video where we could put the pop time and the speeds and all that kind of stuff. How crucial and important is that for our guys?
Yeah, and it is really important because these coaches want to be able to evaluate your skill. Now, in a lot of my coaches with some of these D1 programs out here today, they're really only looking at like 30 to 60 seconds of a video. So A, put your best stuff up front. B, understand it's not a highlight tape. It's not in-game footage. It's you at the diamond on the weekend taking reps, essentially. So if you're a hitter, don't put your fielding video first. Get your cuts at the plate first. Let that coach to be able to see that, and then they can decide if they want to watch the rest. So skills video, short and sweet, to the point. You're probably going to want a new skills video every 6 months as you continue to get better. Coaches are going to ask you for that video, so make sure that you put that on your recruiting profile. And then the other thing that I think it's important to have in video, do like a beginning screen and an end screen. So you could just like film yourself at the ball diamond. Hey coaches, my name is whatever. I'm a 2023 grad. I play these sports. Really looking forward to getting to you. And then do a screen with like your contact information, basically everything you just said in text format, statistics, relevant statistics, and then contact information, your phone number and your email, right? So all that really does need to be in the video, but the kind of what the coaches are going to be looking for is like, can this kid actually perform, right, from a skills perspective? I think eventually they will ask you for a full game before they ever come and see you in person. And really that full game is they're trying to see some of the things that you do away from the diamond, right? So are you good with your teammates? Are you pumping them up? Are you the yes coach kind of kid? Are you coachable? Do you listen? Are you, again, that leadership quality that can only really be seen when you're not playing. So they'll look at the full game footage, right? So have some of that stuff on deck. And then eventually coaches are going to want to come to see you play in person, but only once they've seen that video first.
Nice.
Does that kind of make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And then the other thing that I know might be a big question for some of the guys was, what are the pros and cons of a field level or a NCSA?
Sorry, they're running a vacuum here. I couldn't catch it. Say it one more time.
So what are the pros and cons of an NCSA account and a field level account?
I think the biggest difference with NCSA is that we dominate in player engagement. So field level, you'll be struggling to pick up the phone and actually talk to a real human. NCSA, we got about 1,000 people that work with us, and a lot of us are former college coaches. So I'm basically coach's recruiting liaison at this point. And anything that you guys are experiencing on an individual basis based on your goals, or you need feedback on what you're hearing back from coaches and what you need to do moving forward, I am that guy. And that would be the big difference between field levels, that you're not going to get that individualized attention, based on what your goals are. The other thing, with NCSA is our partnership with USA Baseball. Like, unless you have the trust of college coaches and a national governing body of sport, like, you don't partner with USA Baseball. So for us, it was a really good opportunity to get athletes, high-level athletes, playing with USA Baseball in front of high-level coaches. So college coaches, in large part because of that partnership with USA Baseball and the trust we have with that national governing body, coaches are coming to us first to identify and evaluate talent, because we're able to provide them a lot more than like perfect game or field level, anything like that. So I'm not saying don't have a field level. I think it could be good, and you're going to catch some coaches that way as well. But we've set this up in the team account specifically because I'm here to help you guys move forward, whatever that looks like for you. So I don't know, different strokes for different folks, but as a Division I recruiting coordinator, I exclusively used NCSA. It was just the most powerful network, and I didn't bother with anybody else, if that makes sense.
Nice. Cool. And then I also wanted to just let everybody know that all this information, including the entire Zoom conference that you just facilitated here, we're going to put that up on a page on our website with all the PDFs and information, and make that available to the entire program, because I know a lot of people weren't able to make it tonight, a Monday afternoon, kind of a tough spot, but we wanted to make sure that we got this out here as soon as possible. So what are some of the resources? I know you sent them over to me. What are some of the key resources that they want to make sure to download and read over?
Yeah, I would say the first one, academic eligibility, making sure that you're registered with the NCAA clearinghouse, or what they call the eligibility center now, making sure that you're talking to your guidance office, making sure that the courses you're taking in high school, especially for this upcoming year, are approved by the NCAA. That has nothing to do with your coach. It has nothing to do with your high school coach. That's strictly from the guidance office to NCAA. So the first resource that I would point you guys to is just initial eligibility from an academic standpoint, registering with the NCAA, making sure you're squared away in that regard. But, in terms of the recruiting timeline, get started as soon as it's something you want to do. Build that free online recruiting profile for exposure to college coaches, and have a reference for them to come back to you. So, like, if they see you at a tournament, they like what they're doing, they can come and view your stuff at NCSA, get your contact information. And if you're that far along, if you're a kid like Aiden, start to build that target list and push your information out towards college coaches.
Nice. So that's all I had in terms of questions. I know we were a little long-winded, 6:51, but it's a lot of stuff to go over. I wanted to make sure it was available for everybody. So I appreciate all your time and your efforts you're putting towards this. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think the fact that you guys are here wanting to do this right now is amazing, and this summer is going to be really impactful from a recruiting standpoint. So hopefully I'll get to come out and see what you guys are doing, watch a game maybe this summer, and then at that time we can talk a little bit more about what you guys should be doing in recruiting.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Danny.
All right, Coach. Thanks for setting this up. We'll talk soon, all right?
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, later.